Hey everybody, I'm Canadian Operator, and this is the Ruger PC Carbine in 9mm. This one's really cool because it is a takedown model. Actually, they're all takedown models, but this one specifically is sitting in a very sexy Magpul Backpacker Edition stock with all sorts of bells and whistles above and beyond what you would find in a stock Ruger stock. So stay tuned and let's talk about how I think this should be your next PCC because it's honestly pretty awesome. All right, so first things first, let's just make sure that the firearm is nice and clear. As you can see, we do have the bolt back here. We can see that there's nothing in the chamber. In fact, the chamber is actually part of the other half of this. And as we can see, there's nothing in there whatsoever. And we're not even able to fit a magazine in here because of the way that the barrel sits on this Magpul stock. So everything is nice and clear, and every direction we'll be pointing the firearm into today is going to be a safe one, as I'm the only one in the room. So of course, before we start talking about how this thing is so awesome, we do need to take it apart, and there's going to be a very easy way to do that. So you've got your handrest right here, your buttstock is here, they just fit really nicely together. I should note that only the Magpul edition has this feature. The other stocks from Ruger, they do take apart just like you see here, and of course just like on the 1022. However, you're going to have to store them in the same way that you would store a 1022 takedown, meaning you're probably going to have to get yourself a little Ruger backpack or any old backpack where you have a couple of slots and you're going to put your barrel in one of them and your stock and barreled action in the other. So that being said, we've got a button right over here, so we're going to press that, and then we've got another one right over here. We're going to pinch those together. And that's going to kind of separate things for us. And then we're just going to gently lift up as we give this thing a bit of a wiggle. And there you go, comes apart. And that's actually a really nice way to make sure that the barrel is nice and clear. And of course, because the action is built into the end of the barrel, that basically the front half of the gun, as you can see there, there's really not enough tight space in there for a cartridge to even sit. And this is important because this is part of the reason why this firearm, at least in Canada, is considered to be non-restricted. And it's because it's not meant to be fired like this, and in fact, you can't, especially when you have it together like we had it. There's basically no way that you're going to be able to have that configuration while having a magazine in there at the same time, because the barrel will prevent that, and also because the actual chamber is right there. Like, that is the chamber, that's where the bullet's gonna sit, and not necessarily here, right? So these two pieces need to be together in order for the firearm to function, and without that, it's not going to function. So that is the reason why we're able to enjoy one of these on the non-restricted level, which is really cool. For those of you who asked in previous videos, there are certain things that make a firearm restricted, other than, of course, the government just arbitrarily telling us that it is. But one of the two factors is that it has to have a barrel of under 18.5 inches to be considered restricted, or if it folds down, like maybe the Bren, for example, from CZ, it's got a folding stock on it, which makes it under 26 inches when it's folded. But in that configuration, those firearms can still fire, unlike this one here. So let's go ahead and put this together. It's actually really easy. Again, you do want to make sure that you have your action open, okay? If it's not open, it's really, really simple. You just pull this back, okay? And then under here, you have a little button that you just push, and then you can let go of your charging handle, and there you go. You've got a nice open chamber there, ready to go. At this point, you take your barrel, and you want to just carefully insert it there at a slight angle, and give it a little bit of a wiggle if it doesn't fit right away. But as you can see, that's pretty much what you want right there. And then just give it a twist, and then you're good to go. You can go ahead and close up the action here, and then you're pretty much good to go. Of course, you don't want to insert a magazine into here with this closed. It's recommended with most kinds of firearms like this, most PCCs, that you want to have your bolt open when you insert your magazine, and then you just close your bolt to chamber that first round. So let's talk about some of the features that make this thing awesome from front to back. All right, so let's have a look at this thing from front to back. At the very front here, we have a 1/2" 28 little thread protector. This does come threaded, as you could probably guess, out of the factory, which is really nice. It's probably a little bit better for the Americans than it is for the Canadians, because at least the Americans have a government that somewhat trusts them with suppressors, even though there's probably a lot of paperwork in most states. In Canada, we are not that lucky. So flash hiders, muzzle brakes, pretty much the only thing that's going to be available to us to put on there. For this kind of firearm, I wouldn't really recommend that anyway, because there's not really a big flash, and there isn't really that much recoil or any kind of muzzle climb to speak of. Again, remember that you're shooting a pistol caliber out of this. We're shooting a 9mm Luger out of this. And so if you're using just a pistol, yeah, you're probably going to get a little bit of muzzle climb, a little bit of recoil, because you're shooting something that is fairly light in general. But here, we've got a nice big platform pointing in a safe direction once again. You've got that butt pad nicely in your shoulder. You've got 3 points of contact. You've got a lot of stability, right? So you're not going to be feeling a whole lot of recoil. You're not going to be feeling a whole lot of muzzle rise with this thing. And that's why I wouldn't waste the money. And I mean, guys, these things are expensive. They're, you know, like $100, $150 for like a little muzzle device, like a muzzle brake. So I wouldn't waste my money on this thing. If you have something like the Tavor, which I have done the video on, you check it out up there, then yeah, it makes sense for that firearm or something that's a little bit bigger in caliber. But for this, you're really not gonna need it. In the States, however, if you are able to put a suppressor on this thing, that would be really cool. I'd love for you guys to get on our Discord, link down in the description, by the way, and share some pictures if you happen to have that set up that way. But in any case, you do have that option here, and if you don't want to use those things, not a problem. Keep the thread protector on there and you're good to go. All right, moving on, we have a little post here. This is going to be a little guarded post as your front iron sight. And then as far as the barrel goes, we have a really nice hard anodized painted black barrel on the outside here. We've got some nice fluting as well to reduce weight, although this thing is already fairly light. So it's nice to see that extra little step that they didn't really have to take. It makes the barrel look really nice as well. And on the inside, it's chrome moly. And for Canada, it's 18.5 inches. In the United States, you're going to be seeing something closer to 16.25. And you're probably wondering, does 2.5 or 2 inches really make that much of a difference? And I can already see the comments lighting up, but no, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, especially when we're talking about a 9mm round, because they're quite heavy and they're not super aerodynamic. So they're going to be pretty slow, and you're not going to be seeing practical ranges anything more than about 150 meters or so, or 150 yards roughly. Okay, so it's not going to make a huge difference. The biggest difference here, the reason for that difference, is a regulatory one. So in Canada, we need to have a barrel on a rifle that is longer than 18.5 inches for that rifle then to be considered, generally speaking, non-restricted, which is sort of our base license in Canada. We also have restricted, so anything that is not meeting that requirement, if the barrel is shorter than that, if it's got a folding stock, for example, that brings that firearm down to under 26.5 inches, and to be honest, if the government just so feels like it, then for any of those reasons, they can call a firearm restricted, which then puts it up in the next category of regulation. You need an additional license, additional training, additional scrutiny, and of course, there are other regulations with respect to storage and transportation of restricted firearms as well. So because of that, we are able to consider this a non-restricted. Now, a lot of you might be asking, well, how does something like this, like that folds down or that takes down, how could that possibly be considered a non-restricted firearm? And well, the reason that that is the case, at least as far as I think, is because that this is not designed to be fired once it's been taken down like that. The main reason for that is because you can't even fit a magazine in there with the barrel coming across, as you saw earlier in the video. And the other thing is that this right here, this is actually the chamber, right? This is where the bullet sits. So if you try to put a bullet in there, it's not going to be in the right position in order for it to be fired. And even if you do manage to get it to fire, the bullet's not really going to go anywhere, right? So it's not designed to be fired in that configuration. And for that reason, I think that's why they consider this a non-restricted, which is great. Now, there are the firearms, of course, that we'll be talking about in the future, which do literally fold down. Like I'm looking at the Sub 2000. There's also the CZ brand that's got that's basically a SCAR knockoff, I think, that's got a folding stock and stuff like that. Like those types of firearms, they are considered to be restricted because they have short barrels to start, but even if they had a longer barrel, they can still be discharged with that folded stock. Right? Not the case here. So, something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned chrome moly on the inside of the barrel, so that's really nice, good for durability. And yeah, on the back of the barrel here, we do also have a really nice little peephole sight. So this one is adjustable. It's not quite going to be as accurate as, you know, your main kind of MBR, like main battle rifle or something like that, like some people would call it, you know, where it has very accurate sights. This one, not as accurate. It's a little bit bigger, so easier for my blind ass to see through it. But it's definitely not going to be as accurate for that reason, and also just because, again, we're shooting 9mm here out of a rifle platform. So it's going to be more accurate probably than a pistol, but not more accurate than a rifle that is designed to shoot something like a 223 or a 5.56 or 308 or something along those lines. All right, so moving a little bit further on, we've got the handrest here. And so we've got two basically Magpul inspired M-LOK slots here, and on the other side we have another two as well. So if you're looking to put some kind of, you know, accessories on there, lights, lasers, whatever, you can do that. I'm going to take this off just for a second, and this is actually what I'm going to show you here. We have basically just a single little bolt here that will take the handrest off for you. So if you want to do that, that bolt is all you need. And then we have this right here. This is going to be a nice little lever to separate the two sides. What you want to make sure that you do before you do that is that you have your bolt all the way back. So all the way back, and then there's going to be a little button here that you push in and then let go. Of course, you have to have it all the way back. So make sure you're holding the bolt all the way back and then push this in, then let go of your bolt or your charging handle, and that's gonna leave that open. If you don't have that open, you're not gonna be able to separate these two. Then you've got this little lever here. You just wanna pull that forward towards the direction of the muzzle and then just turn just like that. And then the two parts will just come apart, okay? We'll put them back together just for the rest of this video. Now, we do also have, let me see, on this side here, we've got a quick detach sling mount, which is nice. And we have another QD mount over here as well. It doesn't come with them, so if you want to sling this thing up and take it with you wherever, then you're gonna have to get those separately. The magwell, very interesting. So there is like basically the outer magwell, which is basically the whole stock. And then there's the inner magwell, which is a little plastic piece in there. And what's really cool about these is you get two of them in the box. So you get one, which is the Sec 9 or the Security 9 magazine version, which is produced by Ruger, and it's meant to fit Ruger magazines. But then you also get a Glock version as well, and I know a lot of you guys have Glocks at home, so that is going to be really nice. So it's very easy to actually just swap them out. There's no special tools really required other than maybe just an Allen key, which you do get with this. So you've got a bolt right here, and then you've got another bolt just right there. Right behind the trigger guard right there. And this, if you own a 1022, literally comes apart exactly the same way. So you just take those bolts out, you put your safety, which is up here, right? And you put your safety like in the middle, of course. There we go. So you put your safety in the middle, and then once you've taken those two bolts out, the barreled action literally just falls out and you can pull the stock up. And that's really, really easy. So once you've done that, basically, all you need to do is you just turn the stock upside down, give it a little shake. You might need to push on the inside of the magwell. That inner magwell will come out, and you can replace that, turn it right side up again, replace it with the Glock one, if that's what you want to use, and then just put your barreled action back in and secure the bolts, and then you're good to go. It seems kind of complicated. It's really not. It's super, super easy. I do have the Glock one in there right now, as I do have a few Glock, Gen 5 Glock magazines, as well as some PMags and stuff available that are all 9mm that fit really nicely in here. And I've had no issues feeding or anything like that. So yeah, it works great. And thank you to Ruger for including that in the box, because that's just really thoughtful to do. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the Sec 9 magazines. You might not be either, but the option for you to stick with Ruger mags is there. And the best part is you don't even have to do anything. It just comes like that out of the box. Right, so speaking of the magwell, right over here, this is going to be on the, I guess you could say, the left side of the firearm, is a non-ambi mag release. We do have a little cutout on the other side, but that just kind of comes out, as you can see there, when you push it from this side. So that, unfortunately, is not ambi. However, the charging handle here is ambidextrous, which is nice. You can pull this out, and you can simply just put it on the other side. As you can see, we've got a little hole in there. So that is definitely really nice. Now, as for the safety is going to be very similar to that of your Ruger 1022. So if you happen to have one of those, then this will work pretty much exactly the same way. If you push in from the left side of the firearm out towards the right, that's going to make you safe, and pushing from the right to the left is going to make you hot. Then the trigger pull is pretty interesting. It's there's a little bit of uptake on it. I did measure it earlier today, and it was about 5 pounds and I want to say about 4 ounces, 5 pounds, 3 ounces, something like that. So really not a bad trigger from the factory. But the take up here, and I'll see if I can maybe show that to you a little bit closer. So that take up there is going to be a little bit of squishiness to that, maybe about 1 or 2 millimeters there. And then, let me see if I can get it this way, right? So a little bit of squishiness there, and then you pull. So you got 5 pounds there. And let's see if we can do a little reset test. All right, so you got about 5 pounds, 4 ounces or so, and then you pull back, or release rather. And there you go. You have a nice crisp release, and basically it's only about a 1 or 2 millimeter reset on there on that trigger. But once you're reset, there's basically nothing else. Like, it doesn't go any further. So as far as factory triggers go, honestly, this is pretty good. I don't know if Ruger makes their own replacement upgraded triggers for the PCC as they do for the 1022, the BX trigger, which, by the way, make sure you're subscribed because I'll have a video for that coming up soon. But yeah, whether Ruger makes their own, whether there's third-party aftermarket ones available out there, I'm not really sure. If you know, do let us know down below. But honestly, for a PCC, this thing just feels great. Just it feels fine. And once you're, when you're actually shooting at the range or whatever, it feels great. You don't get tired, you don't get any finger fatigue or anything like that. All right, let's finally move a little bit further down. We have a couple more things to talk about. The next one's going to be right up here in the bottom of the pistol grip. We have like a little thing that we can just kind of pull up. So there we go. There's like a little clip there. And then once you've got that, you can just kind of tear this thing out. Now, for a second, when I first got this, I thought that there was like a hinge like this. But this just completely pulls out, and you've got a little bit of storage in there, so that's nice. You can put maybe a little bit of like a small oil bottle or something in there, maybe a tool like an Allen key or something like. Although if you don't have any padding, that's probably gonna bounce around in there quite a bit. Now, what's really nice is Ruger did kind of think ahead, and they put a little red seal on there, so that's gonna help to keep dust, moisture, and stuff like that outside of the inside of the stock, which is really nice. And then of course we do have that really nice sort of underbelly here of the stock, or the butt pad, or the butt stock rather. So when we're taking this thing apart, it's really easy. Again, we're gonna go all the way back, lock that in, this thing, pull it, twist it, pull that out, and then you want to face the handrest basically towards, as you can see, that's kind of how they fit in there, towards the buttstock. You want to put that bottom end of the barrel, which is basically your chamber, right? There's going to be like a little hole right there, so you want to just put that in the hole. Take it easy in the comments, fellas, okay? I already see it lighting up. And then once you've got it seated in there, just push forward and Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. So that's a really, really cool feature. I really quite like that. And it makes, being able to put this thing in a gym bag or, a backpack or something like that, just really easy and very inconspicuous, which is good for people like me because I hate taking gigantic, gun boxes or gun cases with me with locks all over the place on the transit, because that's the only way I can get around. So being able to put this thing in a backpack is just amazing. All right, a couple more things here before we wrap it up. There's this little top piece that literally comes up, just swings right out of the way. And what's really nice is you can put a full-size Glock magazine in there. So if you're in the States, you could probably get one that is slightly bigger than 10 rounds. In Canada, it's only 10 rounds, unfortunately. The really nice thing is that this lid is one of 2 lids that comes with it. And the cheek riser on this one is a little bit bigger, but we also do have a standard one that just goes straight across that is also included in the box. So thank you, Ruger, for doing that. And this thing, literally, you just pull it straight up. You might feel like you're breaking it if you're doing that, but it literally, like once you see the hinge, and you probably see the hinge right there, right? Like that just pulls straight up. It takes a little bit of force, but you're not gonna break it. And then, you're good to go. So this is like a really good bug out gun. If you're one of those kind of guys, you're a prepper, or you're just getting ready for that zombie apocalypse that is coming. No, this is a great firearm for that because it's very compact and it allows you to store a little bit of ammunition in the back. Now that's not something that I would recommend in Canada or anywhere for that matter, so I usually just store an extra empty magazine in there. But again, up to you. Whatever your regulations happen to be in your neck of the woods, certainly make sure to be following those. One last thing I want to talk about is the buttstock here. Very nice. It's got a nice sort of rubber buttstock here. Let me see if I can get a little further back. There we go. So that is really nice. There's a couple of bolts in there, I believe. Yeah, 2 bolts in there holding that together. It's not the softest, but it does feel pretty nice. It's textured, so it will stay in your shoulder fairly nicely. And again, you're not going to be experiencing a whole lot of recoil or anything like that, so it's more than good enough. If you want something a little bit bigger, or if you want maybe spacers or something like that, I'm sure that there are options out there online that you can do that to increase your length of pull if you want to. But folks, that's going to do it. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you found the video helpful, and if you did, do let me know down in the comments. I know a lot of you have been showing a lot of love on the videos so far, you know, becoming subscribers and coming and chatting with us in the Discord, link below, by the way. I just can't thank you guys enough. I know that the uploads are a little bit irregular. I'm trying to upload whenever I can, but I also want to make sure that I'm bringing you guys meaningful content that's going to give you information and hopefully entertain and delight you a little bit as well. So thank you so very much to all of you for all of your support. It really does mean a lot to me. All the likes and the subs and stuff like that, they really do help the channel grow. As you guys know, the YouTube algorithm can be pretty mean sometimes. So, you know, you doing that is definitely something that I wholeheartedly appreciate. But that being said, that's going to do it for me. Leave me your thoughts down below, and I will see you in the next video.